This movie is just poorly executed. It has good ideas, great art, great creature design, but it's like all style, all shock value, and like no substance whatsoever.
It's so much in this movie, from the random sex scenes, which a lot of that wasn't remotely consensual in any way, shape, or form. Those really kind of threw me.
Let's get this out of the way. There are no sexual themes in this movie. This movie is sex. Sex is the theme. Sex is the plot. And the other plot is behind. It's super horny all the time.
They gave that protagonist the right name, boy. This movie was spicy, boy. Taki, boy. Hey, like, hey, man. Because it immediately started off super spicy. I'm like, what is happening here? Like,
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? It's the No Level Cap Podcast. We back once again with the crew talking about all the anime, all the gaming, all the nerd culture, none of the bullshit. Let me introduce y'all to my incredible co-hosts. We've got One Punch Man and the Master of Combos, Devin Butts. What's going on, Devin?
Oh, not much, man. This week, wanted to get into Alan Wake. I haven't done it just yet. I was hoping it was going to be on Game Pass, but it's not, so I might have to chill out some money. I do want to try it, but I'm probably going to look at some reviews first. Other than that, I've been...
They all hot. That's all I can tell you.
Hey,
they're really good.
That's what I like to hear, man. Besides that, I checked out Pluto with Rakeem and really liking it so far. Okay. Really liking Pluto. So matter of fact, probably once we're done the podcast, I'm probably gonna get back on Pluto.
Okay, I respect it. I want to get into Pluto myself, but it's gonna be a little bit of a wait on that one. Next up, we've got the living cartoon and the man with the golden voice, Rakeem Beck. What's poppin', Rakeem?
Hey guys, this week it was the week of Spider-Man 2, so this week I have been swinging webs and knocking out villains and having a great time. It's been hard for me to get away from that game, but I have been watching some anime on the side as well. I've been watching Pluto as Devin said, and I got a chance to finish the Captain Laserhawk show. What a show that was! It is so crazy, so insane, but I loved it in a weird way. It was actually really engaging. It's totally out there and does a lot of risque things, but I think if you are into stuff that's like a little weird and edgy but does have some clever writing in places, and if you love Ubisoft at all, please watch this show. There are so many homages. Pretty much every IP they have is represented in some character in some way, so check that out.
Completely forgotten about Captain Laserhawk till Rakeem brought it up earlier today, and I was like, yo. And then I remembered seeing some weird clip of Rayman, and man,
he's actually really important to the story. He's not just one off. Like he's like a big part of that show, like a real big part of it.
Hopefully he got a redemption arc, because my God,
I hope so.
He does. And don't fuck with Rayman or Ramon by the end.
Oh shit! All right.
Oh no,
good to know. Next up we got the Black Daredevil, the secret weapon of No Level Cap, Terrence Flowers. What's going on, Terrence?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I heard about Pluto too, and I saw a trailer for it. I'm definitely interested in checking it out, so I might look into that later on this weekend or sometime next week. I got a chance to try out Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and it's quite fun. I will say that it feels like and this might just be a me thing, it feels like with a lot of Nintendo games, it feels like you need to play on a bigger screen because like the game kind of like makes you so small. Like in that game in like Super Smash Brothers, it feels like when you're playing like against multiple people, it's like you're so small on the screen that if you're playing on anything lower than like a 30-inch screen or something like that, I feel like I would get lost. But
too tiny, yeah.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but it's a fun game. I've been enjoying the little bit that I played.
Okay. Lastly, we've got the collector of collectors, the master of Twitch, Will Coleman. What's going on, Will?
Doing my Spy Family thing every Saturday. Keeping up with Tokyo Revengers right now. I have been dipping my toes back in the Darkest Dungeon and doing some more Street Fighter because it was on my mind today, and I decided to hop on that. And
fighting in the streets.
Yeah, I got to. If I ain't throwing hands in the streets, I might as well be sleeping in these sheets, man. But that's about as much as I got going on right there.
Okay.
Other than that, just working and trying to make my dollar.
I feel you.
Respect.
Lastly, I'm Sage Ashford, the man who won't shut up. Look, man, I also played a little bit. I've been playing off and on because I don't have a lot of time for anything else right now. So I've been playing Super Mario Wonder a little bit. I got through, I think, the first world or whatever, the first stage, I guess. I beat the first Cooper Jr. It's a lot of fun. It's very cute, very charming. It's what you expect out of a Nintendo game. It's as I can see why people are so high on it. It's not like that genre isn't my type of genre, but like it's hard to it's impossible to deny the level of polish and just how fun that game is. So I'm digging it. If you didn't know, No Level Cap goes live every Monday morning. We're on YouTube for video fans, but if you prefer the audio version, we're live on Spotify as well. We've also started streaming Thursday nights around 8 p.m. Central. You'll find me, Rakeem, and Devin playing video games together. We took this week off, but we will be back this coming Thursday with more Lost Judgment. And, you come through, you can watch me and Yagami beat up these kids. Because you got to, that's how we help these kids. So that all right. That man, they definitely deserve to fuck them kids. Okay. So we started, we was like, okay, we did Ninja Scroll, and then we did Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. Which one of you horny motherfuckers was like, let's do Wicked City next? I didn't know what the fuck we was about to get into, and I was like, Jesus Christ, when I started this. Like, we were like, okay, let's get all the Yoshiaki Kawajiri movies out of the way. And then like, man, what a fucking gut punch. I had no idea what to expect coming in. All I heard was Wicked City, violent horror, that type shit. And then the next thing I knew, wow. Just, I don't know if it's a good wow. I don't know if it's a bad wow. Just
wow.
Fucking wow. That's what I got right now. Like, holy fuck. Like, I can see how anime, like, its reputation could have been shaky for a while. Cause like, my God. If you haven't seen it, it came out in 1987. It's, I think, Yoshiaki Kawajiri's like first film, right? Like his first big film.
It's like his solo directorial debut, because there's like what, Lens World or something like that before, but he did that with someone else.
Lensman, Secret of the Lens.
Lensman, that's what. Okay, yeah.
And even that's like a weird, because I think that was also like a full TV series, and then it eventually became. But it's also from Madhouse, so. But yeah, that's the okay, yeah. So I'm looking at it, it's the second film, and whew, he established a lot, and you can kind of see it. But I kind of want to see what everybody else thinks first. Terrence, what did you think of this film, man?
I'll say this is a wild film. This is a wild film, but man, dare I say, I really liked it, man. I thought that this was probably one of the best anime movies that I've seen. Like this might be one of his best films like ever. Like I don't know. I don't have words for how good this movie is. Like, okay, let me stop playing. Like, all right, this movie is wild. This movie is a lot to take in, and it's wild. It's out of pocket. It's something else.
Is it?
First, I'll get what I think is good out of the way. For one, I'll say that the art is good. Like Madhouse, I think that they did a really good job with art in this movie. Like it looks very clean, and you can see how what's established in this movie translates to Ninja Scroll and then to Vampire Hunter D, Bloodline, etc. It looks really nice. I thought that the character designs were really cool. I thought Taki looked cool, even though he's only 25, which is like, man, you like a 25 going on like what, 37?
Man, he looked old.
You got that JoJo jeans.
I had no idea how old he was. I think I went on TV Tropes and I was like looking just do some extra research for this horny ass fucking film, and it was like, yeah, he's 25. I said, who's 25? I'm 25 if he's 25, and I damn sure ain't no 25.
And they even say that in the film is like Taki 25, and it's like as soon as that came out of the dude's mouth, like 25. No, wait, it was it was Makie who gave off all the stats and like measurements and whatnot. Okay. Yeah, and she said 25. I was like, 25? Get out of here! Got them Kenshiro and like you said, Jotaro jeans, where it's like. Looking like an old 40-year-old man, yet you're like 15 to 20 years younger. But I digress. Anyway, Makie looked really cool. She has this kind of like Sailor Uranus and kind of like, I wanted to say
Interesting choice
Zoisite.
of words. Interesting choice of Sailor Scout.
Well, just because she has that tomboyish look to her, like she has like the haircut.
Right.
And so she just reminded me of her, not necessarily in terms of personality per se, but she just reminded me.
No, I
of
just
her.
meant you picked Sailor. Never mind. You keep going.
I see. That's not even remotely the joke I was getting at, but okay. I guess as we went there, well, the movie went there. So
I was gonna say the movie put us there.
I'll just say that wasn't my track of mind when I said that. But anyway, she just has this tomboyish look to her, and like just her coming in with the suit and everything. Like I thought that she was a really cool looking character, and like she had the nail thing going on. I was really expecting her to play a really cool part in this film, and I'll get to why that was all thrown completely out the window later. Another thing that I think is cool that some might disagree with is, I'll say, the creature design. And I'll say this, the fact that we're dealing with demons here, I feel like nowadays, especially with modern anime, we've kind of gotten too comfortable with a lot of like demons looking way too much like humans, or like the most they have are like fangs. If they have fangs, it's like what, cutesy fangs, especially if they're like a woman or something like
The
that.
idiot fang and
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. And seeing demons here look like contorted humans, or just like something straight out of a nightmare, me personally, I dig that, just because it's like, hey, if this is going to be about demons and humans interacting, and like these demons come from this whole other world, then they should have some otherworldly look to them. They shouldn't just look straight up like us. So just me personally, I thought the creature design was very well done. That's all the good stuff out of the way. This movie is such a waste of a concept, man. Such a waste of a good concept. Like the idea of a demon city, and you have, well, the demon world and a human world, and them having to have like a peace treaty to keep everything intact. There's so much that could be done with that. It's like, this is almost like Yu Yu Hakusho before Yu Yu Hakusho, in a sense, in terms of you have like that demon versus human world and the struggle between the two. And they really don't go into any kind of detail on that. And I know that this movie is based on a novel, and maybe the novel does more with the concept, but I'm just going to go off the movie by itself. The movie does nothing with it, and it's really just a waste. The story is bad. Like, it's just straight up just bad. Man, I don't even know where to begin. It's like the first honestly, the first 15 minutes of the movie I actually thought were really cool. Like, I was actually really invested, and I was expecting this to be like one hell of a ride. And then once you meet the old man, everything just gets tossed on its head. It's like we got to the top of the pyramid, and then we just started sliding down the side of it right after that. Because the old man is probably one of the most annoying characters I've ever seen in an anime. And I know they do something different with him at the end of the movie, and it's like, no, it's too late. That twist that you put in there, no, that doesn't work.
I already hated him.
Yeah,
I already hate him by
I didn't like him. So why do you think this twist is going to make me suddenly like him? So yeah, the story is just straight up bad. They do a lot of things that they explain through exposition, especially at the end, and it's like, well, why couldn't you show us some of this leading up to this point? Like, there's so much that you just left untapped that it just makes me mad. I hate when a movie has a good concept and they do nothing with it. It reminds me of the movie Hancock with Will Smith, where it's like you have this concept of a homeless hero, and they do very well with it in like the first half, but then the second half, it just go way out in left field and just ruins the movie for me. And lastly, probably the biggest thing, I mentioned Makie earlier, and it's just that she's treated as just a total sex object in this movie. I mean, there's plenty of other examples in this movie where like just women are treated as objects, but she's the main one where it just feels like just a total letdown. Like, she starts out in the movie really cool, having, like I said, the nail power, and she comes off as strong. I mean, she comes and saves Taki, so you think like she's going to be the one to kind of like hold things down instead of him. But once she gets captured, that's kind of it. And you could argue that the scene when she was in the bed with her ex, it's like even though it looked like she was being overpowered, at least she kind of came out on top in that example. But then after that,
I'll say this. She is very much a sex object, but she actually does most of the work in the film.
Yeah,
Like
true.
when you really think back on it, like she killed most of the demons, like outside of you know who, like Taki. That the really useless character is Taki. Like
that gun, hey, that gun has something going on for him.
that's just the cricket from Men in Black. Get that bullshit out of here.
That freaking gun was like just
put in
taking
work.
people out left and right, and it's like, why isn't everybody else armed with this kind of weapon? Like, what's going on?
Because it barely worked. That's why. Because he like used it on them first two dudes, and like the one dude he got shot, and he's just like, well, I still got my eyes, so that's good enough. And then like the other guy had the fucked up ribs that grabbed him. I'm like, all right, well that's it for you. So the gun didn't work there. It didn't. I mean, it kind of worked on the main villain, but not really. Like whenever like it only worked that one time when he was saving Makie. Outside of that,
I always say
I
that the gun, like when I say that, it didn't necessarily kill them, but like just how much damage it was doing. It's like, imagine if he actually hit them. It's like, well, shit, everybody should just be armed with this thing. It's like, this seems like this is like highly effective. Why aren't we all equipped with this? But anyway, like, yeah, she did most of the work, but outside of that, like her character is, they do nothing with her. And I'm going to say something, and I have a point with this. There was a study recently, and you all know what I'm talking about the there was a UCLA study about how Gen Z wants more movies that have like less sex and more like platonic relationships. And you know what? Watching a movie like this, I can see why they feel that way, because this movie takes these characters, puts them in a relationship that was totally unnecessary, makes it like this core part of the film later on, and it does nothing. Like, there's no reason why we should think these two characters should be together other than the fact that the film wants us to think that they should be together, or like the purpose that they're given at the end of it. It's just clumsily done, and it's just this film is just messy. And watching a film like this, you kind of have to do it every once in a while to remind yourself of like the difference between a good movie and a bad movie, or like poorly executed movie. And yeah, this movie is just poorly executed. It has good ideas, great art, great creature design, but it's like all style, all shock value, and like no substance whatsoever. So if I were to give it a rating, I at first wanted to go slightly higher just because there were some things that I liked in the beginning, but when I got to the end of the movie, I was just shaking my head. It's like, this movie's a 3. It's like,
God dang,
it's a 3, man. I wanted to give it a 4, but I was like, I don't know, man. And maybe it is a 4. Maybe a 3 might be a little too harsh, just because there is some good stuff here, but I don't know. The bad just feels like it outweighs it way too much. So I'm in between a decent 3 to like a light 4. So there you go. Out of 10, by the way, for those who, 3 or 4 out of 10. Yeah. Not out of 5, because that would be way better.
That would be way better. Will, what'd you think of the film, man?
Okay, so I'm used to watching a lot of horror style movies, and I'm usually like, when I'm used to like the killer or the so-called villainous entity kind of being introduced by having a crash test dummy in the beginning. You know, the first one that runs into it, don't know no better, and ends up getting killed by it.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of threw that on his head and ended up showing that this was the main dude that was about to give it up to this Spider-Woman. And I'm just like, oh, so you are main character. I thought you was about to die. I thought you was done for, and I thought I was going to get somebody else after the fact. Well, I guess I was proven wrong.
Once he started narrating, I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I guess we.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out whatever happened to old homegirl that was laid out on the bathroom floor. But we ain't gonna talk about that.
I guess she was just, they kind of just left her there because she said that she just left her there and that was it.
Yeah, so I'm still worried about that element there. But it's so much in this movie, from the random sex scenes, which a lot of that wasn't remotely consensual in any way, shape, or form. Those really kind of threw me, because I'm like, I'm okay with it. But when you throw one at me 5 minutes in, and then you throw me a couple more later on. I think
there's one consensual sex scene this whole movie. The obvious one, and then the rest of them are
just,
I guess technically the one between the old man and before she turned into a demon.
He didn't realize, so that's still kind of like, you didn't. If you had known going into it what you was getting into, would you have done it? So that in that respect, it's.
I mean, I guess and if we're being technical about it, yeah.
True, yeah. And I do want to add on to the fact that I do agree with Terrence. The art is great. I love that about it. I love how everything moves. I do like the action scenes, some of the action scenes in there, but I do also have to say this here again. I said it in one of the last reviews we did. Photosensitivity warning for some of those scenes for some of y'all. If y'all do intend on watching this movie, there's quite a few strobing lights in some of these scenes. If your eyes are sensitive or you just have a problem, please turn away from the screen or do not watch it, because there's quite a bit through this movie. I don't know, man. I feel like I kind of got lost somewhere along the line, and there's like a lot of stuff I feel that kind of got left out. It's kind of like I was reading chapter 1, then I went to chapter 3. That's what it kind of felt like with some bits of this movie. It really did, and this movie's not necessarily a full-on stinker, but it's definitely in the toilet somewhere. It's somewhere. It's somewhere in the sewage line. It's somewhere in there, man. I just can't with this movie. I can't. Would I recommend it? I recommend it as a first time watch. Take the old man out of this movie because he made me mad because he hoarded himself into his almost death. He literally his dick got him in trouble. I'm gonna just say that now. His dick got him in straight up trouble.
If you take the old man out of this movie, man, they probably don't survive, to be honest.
They really don't.
He would have died though.
He would have been fine. Well, actually, he would have died. He would have died in that soap land.
That was all him, babe. That was him now.
Yeah. So I just think there's so many elements to this that need to be fixed. There's so many that need to be fixed or expanded upon and made into a better movie. I know it's not gonna happen because this is a movie from '87, and I doubt they'll kind of put this in a theater anywhere or put it in like a streaming service or whatever. But I wouldn't highly recommend this. I would recommend it more as like, hey, just check it out just for the shits and giggles. Sit with your friends and watch it. We didn't watch it together because that probably would have been a little uncomfortable with some of those scenes. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I have to get this like
to be honest with you. Would have been all jokes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it probably would have been. You ain't lying either. It definitely would have been jokes cracked all damn day. But I'll get this like a 4. I'll get this like a 4. I'm gonna give it the 4 that Terrence ain't giving it, even though he's like on a hard 3 light 4. I'm gonna give it the 4. It has some okay spots, but a lot of that stuff is just kind of out the window. Truthfully, it really is. It's so left field with a lot of the shit that happens in the movie. People, I can see somebody way more confident ripping this movie straight apart, like tearing that shit into straight.
I mean, when I did like some background research for the movie, every review I saw was like negative. There were like they mentioned, a few positives, but mostly it was just negative. Just like, hey man, this movie is it's not it, bro. And I don't know what it might have thought. What people, I can only imagine what people thought of it when it came out. Because this movie came out in 1987. Like, I can only imagine what people thought about it 36 years ago.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll leave with, I'll close it off here, because I had a word that popped into my head while I was watching the movie like an hour in. I was like, I think I know what they were aiming for. I think they were aiming for something along the lines of like a psychosexual thriller. That's what I think they were really shooting for, if I had to say so myself. But I think they kind of missed a part on a good part of it within that. Like, they got the sexual part down to a T, but that whole the psycho part kind of missed, I feel.
No, that's completely fair. So we had a 4 and a 3. Wow, this is definitely the lowest ranked film we've ever done. Let's see. Devin, you want to break the streak? What'd you think of the film?
When I first heard about this, I was like, because I never seen it, I didn't really know much about it. Like, the name intrigued me. I saw some bits and pieces of them. Like, this looked pretty cool. This looked like something that's in my, some type of the type of thing I like, because I like the horror. Like, the first thing I thought about when I saw some of the demons was like Parasite. This is probably like Parasite before Parasite, with just the design of the monsters, the body horror, people transforming. The first scene kind of gave me Species vibes. There's a horror movie like in the 90s. It's like Alien. She's like in the form of a woman and like seducing men. So I thought that's what was going to happen at the beginning. That didn't happen. Also, like Will, I was thinking like, is this guy going to die? Then I'm thinking like, oh, is this just going to like set up another premise? And he's like, no. And I like how when she's actually showed her true form, I'm like, dang, it's over with. He was like, no, you thought. I'm like, dang, it's a bad dude, man. Like, I'm like, does he do this often? Like, is he just like, And I mean, looking at after as the movie goes on, I'm thinking like maybe he kind of does do this, and I think he actually says something about that in the movie later, if I'm not mistaken. But this movie, it does have the same problem I think that the other films have. Vampire Hunter D in particular, like just a lot of loose ends, a lot of things that are like cool here, and it's like things just don't line up throughout the film. Visual style, I freaking love it. Like for this to be 87, this looked almost as good as the newer Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. It looked really good, like the style of it, the way some of the scenes were shot. It definitely had them old school sound effects. You heard those old school.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I ain't the only one that noticed that. Those sound effects was crazy.
Yo, when Taki was fighting them guys at the airport, he was just like, psh. I was like, yo, that's the old school right there. I tell you what though, they gave that protagonist the right name, boy. This movie was spicy, boy. Taki, boy. He was like, hey man, because it immediately started off super spicy. I'm like, what is happening here? Like, what is going on? And I'm just like, all right. Again, the gun. I know y'all Sage mentioned the gun. This man just had like the BFG peacemaker on him. Like, yo, I was like, he said something when he pulled the gun out, like on those two guys. I forgot what he said. But my favorite scene in this entire movie, when he went up to the super fast gotten villain. I'm like, who is this dude? Where he come from? Why is he here? What's this? What is his game? And he bring a chick out. He's like, I'm a test. Your mind is. I'm gonna test you as a man. And see, and she comes up and her front opened up, and she's like, yeah, come on, just come on. He's like, the scene when he was like engulfed in red, and you can see him pulling the gun out. He's like, yeah. I was like, that's my favorite scene, bro. Cause I thought she done got him seduced or whatever. She about to kill him, and the way they just pan slowly, he just like this, and just.
She had some right.
Hey, call an ambulance, but not for me.
Not for me.
And tell the whole story, Devin. What was she? Her whole entire chest had become a giant vagina.
It was a giant demonic vagina.
It was a whole metaphor sitting right there, bro.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Subtlety was not this movie's strong suit. I put
it What's a metaphor to real raps, man?
Yeah,
I was a little confused at first because when Makia, when she came in, I thought like, is it the chick he had sex with? And I was like, she looked like a little bit. Then when I saw her again, I'm like, okay, the other chicks, the demon, her face was like more like hard cheeks, like very like pronounced cheeks and stuff.
Yeah.
She came in like Lady Deathstrike. I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like she out here, she helping them fight. Pretty cool looking character. I think it was it Sage or either Terrence already mentioned like the Men in Black. It does have like a Men in Black type vibe. This has like hints of Yu Yu Hakusho, like just the demon forms and stuff, even like just how like the gritty feel of some of it, kind of very similar to like some of the dark. Well, a lot of the Yu Yu Hakusho was dark, and a lot of it was demons. And again, like I said, the Parasite reference. But yeah, the thing that was like the worst to me was just the whole thing with like the love. I'm like, bro, y'all. I mean, I appreciate y'all making a prequel to showing us who the parents of D was. I appreciate that. That's really all this was. Oh, so that's how Vampire Hunter. Okay, that's how he came to be.
I mean, it's funny y'all have brought this up a couple of times. Coincidentally, not only is the director of this the same as Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, at least, but the writer of the Vampire Hunter D novels also writes the Wicked City novels.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, okay, now
and this also has that issue of like, for some reason, these like 80s anime movies and stuff having this like male, female, they have to be together. It don't make sense. Cause I'm thinking, I'm like, what is happening here? She's just your partner from the Blackguard on the demonic side. There was no relation. Met her. Yeah, you just met her. There was no like connection. There was no like, you have this mission that y'all both on, right? Mm-hmm. The old guy, Garlic Jr., he did kind of mess it up for me a little bit, because he was just like, it was a little funny. He had some moments like when he first met him, he's like, oh, this is how we greet each other in the human world. And freaking Makia, she hit him with that the pimp slap from Justice's hand. She came
Yeah.
across his face. It's like, hey man, chill out. But just like the fact that I do agree, like she should have been a much cooler character. She looked like a cool character. The whole Lady Deathstrike thing, she seemed as like a competent guard, but it was just like, no, you fine. So we just gonna focus on that. I don't know. I just kind of wish they hadn't done that. Like she come in at the end like a Final Fantasy limit break at the end, like doing a little dash, and she slices the dude in half. I'm like, all right, y'all just like when the spider chick, did they ever reveal her name? Because I don't think they ever told her name, did they?
I don't think she had. Oh,
Nanako, okay. Because even like the dude, like Shadow, I'm like, that's another perfect name because it's like he just came out of nowhere. We don't know what's going on. Oh, I'm here. Yep.
I lied. I lied. Her name is Kanako. My bad.
Okay.
Kanako.
Like when Kanako, when she finds him in the vehicle at the end, and she has the webs in the tunnel. That scene where they're both on the webs hanging, and she's like just slicing them, and then all of a sudden it just goes to them like having sex. I'm like, wait a minute now.
Well, first off, don't just speed past this.
I don't know. Maybe we should.
I mean,
where did the webs come from?
Oh yeah, already.
It came out of her. I mean,
No. Where specifically did those webs come from?
I mean, do you really want us to spell it out?
I mean, they came out the crotch.
Webs out of her vagina.
Yeah.
What the fuck was going on in this movie?
I mean, she also had teeth in there too, so you know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what is that, dentata or whatever? That shit.
Vagina dentata.
Yeah, they do that all the time. That's like a typical hard thing. But like when they couldn't even be bothered to just have her do the webs from her butt like every other fucking spider. It was like, no. We got a better idea than that. Do you?
from down there.
Imagine you getting sliced to ribbons while you wrapped up in this chick's vagina web. Like, what the fuck?
Hey man, this by that time this movie already showed you what it was. It's like
it did.
It ain't like But that scene was just crazy to me. Like they just got sliced up. This is like, and I thought they were dead again all of a sudden. And that's actually, I had already kind of had a idea that the old guy was like, okay, he's like some type of superpower. They always called him a mystic. I'm like, he gonna do some crazy stuff. They put him in the sand pod when he, had the interaction with that other demon. I'm like, it's something with this old dude. And when the lightning came out, I'm like, that's an old dude. I know it's him. They didn't show like who was in the shadow. I'm like, that's the old dude. And all of a sudden they just having sex. I'm like, wait, I would never, if I just fought a demon spider woman and she was slicing us up, the last thing I'm thinking about doing is when I'm healed is like, hey man, let's go.
I mean, that's a very 80s thing though. Like I think a lot of 80s, not just anime, 80s movies in general, like a lot of them, like after some big action focused battle where the hero almost got his ass beat and then he just narrowly survived and then he together with the heroine of the film and then they just the passion overtakes him and they wind up fucking. Like that's a very 80s ass theme.
It is, but notice you said get his behind beat. You ain't getting slashed to bits and bleeding everywhere. I'm hanging upside down, getting slashed to death. I'm not gonna be like, man, I feel like having some. Let's get it in right now. Like what? I'm
no
leaving.
better time. You made it.
I'm leaving. I'm going home, man. This movie, I'm not gonna give it as low a score as everybody else has. I'm gonna give it maybe like I say a 5.5, maybe 6. No, I say 5.5 because this movie has like all the things that I like aesthetic and stuff like that, just like the horror vibe, but it's just not held together well. Like it's just too much horny stuff. It's just like that's like all it was really the focus. I'm like, dang, like this has so much of a cool premise. At the end, they were talking like, yeah, we were trying to figure out a way, you have a child and get the barriers between the human world and the demon world together, and this was the only way we could do it. Like all this had to go on. And then he said, you were serious when you were making love to her, weren't you, Taki? He's like, no, I wasn't. But then it changed. I was. And then at the end, he's like, you know what? Until that day comes when I have my kid, I'm still going to be part of the Black Guard. BFG from Doom. Pow, 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 pow. I'm like, So I'm giving it just that score, just the aesthetic. I love the visuals, this world, the concept, but it was just held together by just sex, and that's it. It was just the glue of sex what held this together, and it's just not enough to just have some interesting story, man. Like you could have
sex included.
like like Terrence said, you could have delved into like the relationships, the demon war, show more of that. It was none of that. It was just like we horny right now.
I will say, even though the romance feels like it came out of nowhere, there are some translations, and I think in the novel, it's implied that Taki and Makie were like genetically created to be together.
Yeah,
not
they
like
say that in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
they
not
do.
really a by
Yeah.
chance thing. Like they designed them specifically
Yeah.
to be together. So that's probably why they fell for each other so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they say that in the movie, but it's like one of those things where it's like it's such a convenient thing
Plot
that it
device.
Yeah.
still.
It's a
Sure.
convenient
Sure.
plot device.
Yeah.
All right, Rakeem, how'd you land on this
I'm
movie?
ready for
So I'm gonna tell you right now, audience, friends, people potentially watch this movie, it ain't finna get no better. Cause it ain't finna get no better. First of all, I gotta say, well, we've been talking a lot about the sexual themes of this movie. Let's get this out of the way. There are no sexual themes in this movie. This movie is sex. Sex is the theme. Sex is the plot, and the
just
other
horny.
plot is behind. It's super
Yep.
horny all the time. To the point where like I even started putting together like the sexual themes together almost as its own plot. The beginning of the movie, we has the sexual scene with the demon woman. To the point where we has a sexual scene with what's her name, Maki. I can't get
Maki,
I get names. Yeah, kind of shows the relationship between the demons and the humans, how conflicting it is in the beginning, and how like every time they interact they have these issues, and that's why this like the sexual is always like objectified or like violent, and then when they have this one soulless moment of like consensual sex, it's showing that they can cohabitate at once, because otherwise every other instance they couldn't. That kind of makes sense, but honestly I did not enjoy this movie. And what's crazy about this, once again guys, we're going to a part of my childhood that I realized I watched the movie before. While I was watching, I was like, oh, I've seen this movie before. So like young Keem many years ago, if you saw something on TV, some titties out, you just watch it. I think this was on one of the probably one of the like Action Channel or something like that. They were playing it because the opening and the opening like 30, 45 minutes, I remember distinctly. I remember all of it. And I think that was probably my favorite part of the movie as well. Like many of you mentioned, the beginning of this movie makes you feel like you got this cool protagonist. He's very adult, like kind of par for the course for like 80s action heroes. They were more masculine, more older. They were trying to be more, mature, in regards. And it comes off that way in the dialogue. Like until the old man shows up, this is a very serious movie.
Yeah.
Like almost like a drama. The dialogue's meant to be serious. It's not taken like super silly or out the way. None of those anime tropes come in until
Then
they
the
do.
old man show up, and then all that bullshit you talking about wasn't there.
Yeah. It's like missile blitz comes in, just fucks up the whole narrative and changes, puts it on his head. Because the beginning of this movie, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like kind of like a dark city hunter or something.
Yeah,
like going
I
for
felt the same way. Yeah.
I was like, oh man, this could be cool, man. You could have him like go on these different missions. Like you gotta handle these demons that's handling stuff. They don't know they're coming. You gotta take them out and snipe them. Like you ain't get none of that. I feel like this is probably. I haven't read the Wicked City novels. I'm probably not gonna read them. I feel like this plot, in some ways, will be better. The interpretation of this story is better in the novels than it is here. In some way, it's gotta be because this ain't it. This ain't it, ladies and gentlemen. When I watch this movie, like. The beginning of this movie comes together. You have your protagonist, Taki. What's his name? Taki?
Yeah.
Taki and Maki. They really were meant for each other. Taki's put on this mission to protect this specific gentleman who's a mystic for this treaty between these two people. And that plot is pretty straightforward. And if you have this demon contingent who's against the treaty and doing everything they can to stop them. And it felt like, man, like nothing they did was working, because it felt like they got to a spot. They say, hey, man, we got hella guard security. We got mystical barriers on it. The first place especially. We going to protect it. 30 minutes later, shh, hold on, the barrier broke. Oh, shit, they on the app.
Okay, so in fairness, the first place was trash. He was like, yeah, we built it on this special ground. It's really strong spiritually and yada, yada. And that demon came along, was like, cut that shit out. And it was this, oh, shit. And just like you said, the second place, it was what they made it out to be.
That's true. That's true.
Because like they never broke in, he just left.
Yeah, they just put. Oh my god! And then I'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it felt like every place they went with the VIP, they were always in danger. Were always on their ass. They and just him and her protecting him. And then you have this incredibly annoying character you have to take care of. It's weird when you see an old man is basically a child. They were basically taking care of a grown child who was overly horny, touching, wanting to have sex. And he basically felt like the self-insert for every horny anime watcher who's derelict and all they care about is sex, but they don't want to act like that way. He's like the self-insert character in that movie because I feel like all he cared about was sex, to his detriment and the people who's protecting them detriment. And honestly, nobody wants to watch a film where like you have an annoying character getting people into trouble and like messing things up over and over again. And then in the end, they have this big twist at the end where he's supposed to be taken seriously. I ain't getting it, bro. You ain't getting Kai. You ain't finna pull that on me, bro. I'm sorry. I just didn't like that character. I kind of, between Devin and Terrence and Will and y'all points, I agree that like visually this movie really brought me in. I thought the visuals for this movie were pretty cool. Very dark on purpose in certain aspects. The audio would cut out so you could just hear like almost like ambiance in certain parts. I love the creature design, which is crazy because I don't like body horror. Because when I was a kid, I was traumatized by body horror. But this movie, because I watched it, I guess when I was so young, I still have the memories of it. It almost feels like nostalgia. It feels like a nostalgic kind of body horror to it. There's just something more like the inhumanness of it is intriguing to watch. And then like each monster, these last few movies we've watched, creature design, whatever he work on, creature design, what this dude's good at. He gets that down, creature design and like visual knocks out the park every time. 'Cause I think visually and like design the creatures and the intensity of it and their powers and the creepiness of it, those are the best parts of the movie. It's just that like, man, why everybody gotta be so horny? And I wonder if the creator Berserk was inspired by this movie because the opening of this movie is almost exactly the same as the opening of Berserk, where he's making love to a woman, she transforms into a monster. Except in this movie, he made love to a monster, skeeted in her, and she just left. And he just went to work the next day like nothing. That was the weirdest, jarring. Go ahead, Terrence.
I will say that I to that scene's credit in some regard, I feel like the idea there is to show that, the typical power balance that you think would come out of that kind of scenario, like, that's not necessarily the case here. Like, even the dudes can get got doing something like that. So I guess that's the idea, but how it was executed is a whole other thing.
Yeah, very well executed there. And of course, the biggest issue I have with this movie is that the sex takes precedence over everything, even to a compelling plot. It feels like anywhere they can squeeze in a nudity scene, they do. Anywhere they can squeeze in innuendo, they do. And even where they can squeeze in specifically sexual assault for some reason, they do. And the one where I was through was when they were outside the second place and they basically put them on demon widescreen video on the ground. And it's all Maki just get ran in by 3 dudes. Over and over, it was on repeat. Like they just kept showing the same scene. Like they couldn't get in, so like, yeah.
That was so uncomfortable to me, man.
Bro, that was like the weirdest.
Why are y'all doing this?
What was wild was like Taki was like kind of going back and forth in his mind over whether he should do it, and he was like, you know what, I'm finna head on out. And then like what's Mayart? I think it's the old man. Mayart was like, hey man, you can't leave, and you gotta watch over me. Like she a demon, fuck that bitch. And then it was almost as if Shadow could hear that and then like turn the volume up so that he could hear it even louder. Like, no, you coming over here? It's like, bro, like.
And I ain't gonna lie, that was the scene that was when I was like turned off from the movie. After that, I was like, it's kind of hard for me to get back into it. I can't take this movie serious no more. And then like, it took him so much time to get there. He finally found the place, and it was still going on. And then what really got me was like he was having a whole conversation with the villains, and them niggas they were still hitting
it. Yeah. Well, for real, like he was just standing there, just like looking. And I'm like, dude, do
what are you guys
something.
Gonna? You think like a dude come in, hey, put your meat up.
Help me, nigga.
He didn't have the cow covers. Oh, I see you here, Mr. villain, like the classic, like sucking 007 or some shit. Like normally the woman be hung up on a chain or something, so you can't do nothing. But now she getting ran up here. You need to stop her this immediately. He's like, oh, that's what you got going on here, huh? Running up me, huh? That's how we do it, huh? Explain your villainous plot to me. Oh, what the fuck are you doing? Help me!
I mean, we have to think this is also a guy that had sex with a demon woman and was just like, all right, so you can't be fully stable all the way. And he even said like his coworkers was like, they said something about he said something to his coworkers. I'm like, yeah, this dude he ain't all the way there, man.
Yeah.
I guess
that part,
the job kind of detaches you from it a little bit.
Yeah, I guess a bit too. But yeah, that was really strange. And then on top of that, like the big plot twist in the end, you find out that the purpose of them protecting that dude was really him protecting them because they were these pre-designed, basically like the how I describe this. It's a little bit confusing, but it makes sense. Sage explained it the best way. They were basically created to be a hybrid, to hybridize the species between man and demons.
Breeding program.
Yeah, genetic breeding, so they can actually mate, and that would cause peace over time. You know, eventually, like since they can breed now, this kind of hybrid. Even though I don't know how that would work either. Like, is that really gonna work? I don't know. That's probably gonna cause more issues down the line, to be honest.
I mean, it's a novel series, not a movie, so.
Yeah. But yeah, like that. When you find out the plot twist, it's like, so you let her get ran in by demons to help prove your point, so he would save her. What if they both got murdered? She was getting ran in by demons for like 5 hours. What's going on? It doesn't make any sense. Like, if you think about this movie too long, especially when you get to the end, nothing connects. The twist falls completely flat. The characters' motivations don't make sense. The old man Myrick going from this pervy dude to this really competent master magician. I knew something was up with that because I knew the lightning bolt thing. They love the lightning bolts too. That happened in some of the other movies we watched, like the lightning bolt come from this guy.
Definitely happened in Ninja Scroll.
Yeah, it happened in Vampire Hunter D too. In Bloodlust with a lightning.
Yeah, the
right.
tree.
You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, the tree and killed it.
They love that lightning. I was like, is Zeus a part of this? Is the Greek guys involved? They went up to and they woke up in that church. I was like, is Jesus watching over there? They need church. I like, they need Jesus right now. That's probably the best place for them right now. Everybody needs Jesus.
In the church, so I mean, clearly not.
You're right. And then I was wrong because they've been making a lot. Like, they need Jesus right now for what they just been doing. They need Jesus. The creators need Jesus. The demons need Jesus. Everybody needs Jesus right now. This is out of hand. But yeah, it all falls apart. It just doesn't click together very well. And as a result, I can't really get with it because writing is the foremost thing I want to see when I watch movies, like good writing, connectivity. After watching something like, I bring this up, like Perfect Blue, you can't come with no BS with me this no more. Like, you gotta give me something with a little bit of meat. And it
had a lot of meat. That was
too much. It made me. I watched this movie. Made me apologize to every other movie I call horny because this takes the cake.
Boy,
this movie is MJF. You thought you was cool, but ain't nobody on the level of the devil, and that's what this movie is.
I agree.
Yeah, this movie takes the cake of horniness. Like, compared to the other movies, compared to this, it's not even close. Like, this is as horny as it should ever get, ever. Like, it can't exceed this. If it exceeds this, it's just porn.
I was going to say it would just be porn.
It's just pretty much porn. But yeah,
honestly, in a lot of ways, it mimicked a lot of hentai.
Yeah. Oh my God, so much sexual innuendo. So I'm gonna get straight to the chase. Man, this is like a 5 out of 10 at most. Really a 4. I did not enjoy this movie. It is now the worst movie out of the ones we've watched in the past year, and I've really enjoyed these movie reviews. This is the worst. Like, it just doesn't come together with the plot. The ambiance and the visuals and the creature designs and the horror elements are good, but they don't come together well enough to, prop up the rest of the weaknesses of this movie enough for me. It just isn't really innovating enough in compared to the other movies either. Like, it's just not coming together enough for me. So I can't give it a high review. I just didn't like it.
That is completely fair. Man. So I was watching this movie and I was like, damn, I'd have been suckered into watching a horror movie for the podcast, but it is what it is. And while I was watching it, I was talking to somebody and I sent a text. I said, I'm 35 minutes into this film. And I've said, that's what your horny ass gets about 6 times. And that sets the tone for this fucking film. Like, even the opening, Taki was like, he didn't talk to girl that was shy and like she kept to herself and she wasn't really about going out. And all of a sudden she just, oh yeah, you know, I definitely go get a drink with you. And suddenly the drink then turned into let's go back to my place. Then turned into look, let me make out with you on the elevator. Then turned into let me give you some head. And then even in the opening, Taki like, oh, she on demon time. Whole personality didn't change. Like, yeah, you right, nigga. She is on demon time. She's a demon, and you still about to. And like, it would have been one thing if he didn't know nothing about the demon world. I'd have been like, well, you know, how could you have known? How could you even have thought about some shit like that? Then you come to find out, like, no, that's his whole personality. His whole other job is dealing with this shit. So he should have known off rip, like, her whole personality is just completely different. And like, the thing that bothers me about that part is the fact that he literally said this girl is a devil. I'm like, you just horny because you should have really connected 2 and 2 together.
He was horny.
And man, everybody was horny.
Yeah,
I was
supposedly like demon sex is like the best ever the way they frame it in this movie.
Yeah.
I was
they
so
definitely
about
framed
to
it that
get
way.
there. I was on my way there. Like, I was expecting this movie to be scary, but it's really just kind of creepy for the most part. It's not really scary at all, which is what my friend told me. They was like, it's not really scary. But they were horror fans, so I was like, I don't believe you. And then like I got through it, and I'm like, no, this film ain't scary. It's just fucking horny as shit. The only thing I can say, I'm with y'all. The animation is cold as a motherfucker. You kind of get that 80s bubble economy vibe from it. I like that a lot. Like, I love there's this one scene that sucks for one reason. The scene when they ride in the taxi after they not a taxi. I think in Taki's car. They're riding in Taki's car after he saved Makie, and the music starts playing, and I'm like, man, if you don't cut this corny ass music off, get that bullshit out of here.
But it was
like,
she was singing.
Yeah, like the little romantic ass theme she was singing. But then it cut to like it cut to the outside of the car. And the outside of the car just shows like the city lights and like the skyline and all that shit. And I was like, damn, this cold as fuck. Like that part was great. What's up, Will?
I was gonna say, it's funny you mentioned that scene because I won't lie, I thought that was where the fucking film was ending. I was like, is this where it's ending? Like, this is a
better
weird
ending
place
spot,
to
to be honest with
end.
you.
I thought, I was like, why is it ending here? And also, that's kind of like my raid notification, that scene. I didn't know that they came from that movie. So I learned something new tonight.
Yeah, as soon as I seen it, I said, I bet a lot of what is it, City Pop?
Yeah.
I bet a lot of City Pop YouTube videos use that exact scene where he's like riding.
I recognized it too. Yeah, like when they have like the car tail lights going off and everything, and they're going down through the highway. Yeah, I recognize that as well.
I will say, man, this movie is definitely like you can see a lot of influences. Like a lot of this stuff it reappears in Ninja Scroll. It reappears in Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. Like particularly with Ninja Scroll, I know y'all remember that manipulative ass old man from Ninja Scroll.
Oh yeah,
that none of us fucking liked. And then he was here, and I don't know if he was worse or better. Like I guess he was better because he wasn't as shitty, but he was still shitty in this film. I fucking hated him here, just like I hated him there. He kind of got his more in this one, so I was kind of cool with it. What's up, Keen?
I guess the Vampire Hunter D equivalent would be the Hand.
But the Hand was cool because he was just like he would talk some shit, but mostly he was just like keeping to himself.
Yeah,
but I do agree.
Do the breast scene over again.
They definitely. I'm gonna get there. This movie does not take its own premise seriously. Like it's such a big. They make such a big deal out of the difference between the human world and the demon world. And by the way, I fucking hate when films do this, where they try to make it seem like both sides are equal, but one side is very clearly in control of the other one. And I'm like, well, how did the peace even come about in the first place? Because like the demons really just got y'all. Like it don't seem like it's shit y'all can do against these motherfuckers. Like even in that first fight scene with Taki, where he like is driving, he notices the two demons, and he like, I'm gonna deal with this. And he pulls up to that little airport, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we'll see what this man made of. And he pulled out the cricket for Men in Black, and I'm like, and the cricket didn't do shit. It blew away the demon, but like the demon just proceeded to be like, well, I still got my eyes, and I'll regenerate the rest. I'm coming to fuck you up. And then like the I don't know, the weird ass rib cage grabbed him and held him in place. I'm like, and the gun ain't doing him a damn bit of good. I'm like, yeah, this nigga trash. And Makie had to save him. I'm like, yeah, I guess. But like, even beyond that, like as soon as they met the old man The old man is there for maybe 2 minutes before he like in the car riding. I'm like, man, you know what I heard? I heard that demon pussy hit different, bro. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Why are we talking about demon pussy? And he just kept driving home. He was like, I heard it drain all your energy. Man, I want to try something like that. We supposed to be worried about a peace treaty, and you
have an important mission. Can't you do this tomorrow?
That's what he said. Taki was like, look, man, you do whatever you want after you sign this peace treaty, but like right now, let's stay focused. And that nigga Maya was like, no, I want to get fucked by a demon. I'm like, bro, you got to stop. And then like, and what when you know, like when I said the whole that's what your horny ass gets about 6 times, like another one of the times I said it was when that damn when Makie's ex-boyfriend came up in there and like showed up, said, hey man, they was talking all that big talk. They was talking big talk about that barrier they had, and he just cracked it in like with ease, walked in there and did his best Banshee impression, took the old dude's arm off and had Taki knock the fuck out. Went upstairs. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's over with. I guess, you know, he just gonna watch everybody because he whooped Makie pretty easily. But then he was like, you know what? Why'd you leave me anyway?
Run the cheeks.
Run them cheeks. Like, what? Ain't you got a mission? I thought your mission was to fuck up their mission. And he was like, I get to that later. But first, she got to remember what this demon dick feel like.
Oh, my God.
As soon as she killed him, I was like, yeah, that's what you was. She ain't kill him, but she like stopped him. And then Taki, I'm like, that's what your bitch ass get. Like you got distracted from the mission. You too busy trying to sexually assault somebody. You should have got killed. I was like, man, what kind of nonsense? And then like, as soon as you go look, they was like, all right, well, I guess that kind of worked out. Like, let's go find Mayart. Soapland. I'm like, first off, I don't think I've seen a Soapland in a Japanese anime film ever. I could be wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen one. Like, I'm not saying that they don't have them. I'm just saying in the films I've seen, I've never seen it. They might mention it, but I've never seen the actual soap. The only time I've seen Soapland is it. Never mind. You know where I've seen it, so we just gonna keep it moving.
Something that start with a J and end with a V.
Hey, thank you. With 3 letters in it. And then like the dumb shit when he got into the Soapland, I'm like, okay, well, I know this can't go well. And then in the middle of that, it was, oh, wow. Oh, man, your meat huge. I'm like,
you have such a good vigor.
And she said somebody's vitality. I said, what the fuck?
I'm 200 years old. I still got it.
Yeah, that was when I was
some young boys.
That was when I was done with the movie. I'm like, man, this shit's some trash. Like, whatever my opinion was like, yeah, it's cut it in half right now. Like, whatever ranking I was gonna get it, cut it in half. And then the way they played off the sexual assault, when I tell you everybody got it in this film, like everybody, like every protagonist got fucked. Like Taki, he 5 minutes in, you know, he tried to fuck, come to find out he fucking a demon. The demon tried to kill him. He like, I don't want this no more. And she like, oh, it's too late. I already got what I wanted up off you. I'm like, I should have known then. And then the way they did Makie, they did a whole tentacle porn scene.
They did.
Well, she got face fucked for like a minute and a half. Who the fuck came up with this shit? Like, what the fuck? Like, they just showed it just in and out, and I'm like, yo, man, I'm trying to watch a real film for real people. Like, they was like, what are you trying to watch? If you trying to watch this without your meat in your hands, you making a mistake. This goddamn movie off right now. If it had not been for this podcast, I'd have cut that movie off right then. Cause it would have been one thing that she got captured. I'd be like, oh, okay. And I really don't like using sexual assault in any film unless it's just like, unless the film has broader points to make about it. Like not just as like it just happens.
As a drama.
Yeah, I don't like it as drama.
Like
I hate that shit.
Not necessarily a plot point, but yeah, it's like there's like a shock value kind of thing.
Right. I hate that to begin with. But like the way there are ways to handle even the shock value where you kind of like hint around it or like imply that it happened, but you don't show it. But like Keem said, like, nah, they showed it in vigorous detail. Minutes of just her getting throat fucked or whatever I'm like, cut this shit off. Right the fuck now. Like, and I don't know how to fuck in 1987. You know what? Terrence, you mentioned Gen Z want less sex. they sure as fuck couldn't take no film like this because I don't even want it. I'm sitting there looking at this like, what am I looking at, and like, why am I? What's going on?
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like a lot of this film, they did so much of it is out of pocket because of like that Japanimation era where it's like they want to differentiate how it's not for kids at all, and like they want to be straight up adult, and this is like that turned up to like 20, not 11, 20.
Indeed.
You not lying. That's exactly what it is. It's up to 20. Because I mean, like, it's like Keem said, one step beyond this is porn. Like that, this is literally like, how far can I get to making porn without making porn? And I'm like, and even the premise, like none of the, like once you get to the so-called twist, that shit don't even make sense. All of like the second they realize, like, haven't y'all figured it out yet? And I was like, figured out what? And then as he explains it, I'm like, no one could figure this out because only a fucking moron could have thought of this in the first fucking place. Like, you didn't tell them shit. You just sent them on this mission. You didn't have nobody like you, like, oh yeah, I was looking after y'all, but I had to put y'all in dangerous situations just so y'all could like have enough adrenaline to want to fuck each other. I'm like, what? Whose fucking plan is that? What's up, Keem?
And the one part, now we talking about it, that got me, the church scene really don't make sense because she took it for like hours from demons. Multiple hours, but multiple niggas. And for some reason, she just want to fuck Taki afterwards. Like, I can't.
I was in there
sense.
I'm with you on that completely. Cause like I said, they just basically played off the sexual assault just entirely. Like, she got assaulted and then like she was just like, yeah, I'm good. Are you okay? I'm like, is he okay? No. Are you okay? You've been like, they've been doing you dirty for all this time. And like, you just like, oh, but I got to heal the man because he's been injured. I'm like, man, you don't get this shit. What's going on, Will?
Okay, now you mentioned that, and the first thing that came to my mind was you said something earlier about how they do that whole thing in 80s movies, how they kind of get them to run through this whole big long action sequence just for them to do. I feel like this movie was kind of sort of being self-aware in that moment. It made me feel like that. I'm just like, now that you done said it, I thought about it. Is it being self-aware to this in the 80s?
Hell no. I'm not giving this movie that much credit. I'm not. I refuse to give this movie that much credit because, like,
it's not parody. If it was a parody, it'd be a different thing.
It would be a different thing. But like, I'm with Keem. I thought the same thing. I'm like, so after this horrible and I mean, if you want, we can explain it away by saying, oh, she's from the demon world. They all grimy and they about that fuck shit, and so she's just kind of used to it, and what's the word? Desensitized to it, to like that type of shit. Mm-hmm. You could, if you want, use that as an excuse, but fuck I'm that. Not about to use that. In real life, that's just not how we do things. And like, I mean, I guess you could also say some people that have been victims of sexual assault, they become hypersexual afterwards as a way of kind of taking control back. This movie did not think about that deeply. It did not think about anything that deeply. It just thought about, how can I fit one more fucking scene into this fucking movie? Like, that's all they was thinking about. And then even this stupid ass end scene. They could have just had Maya just finish off, what is it, Shadow? He could have just finished off Shadow, and that could have been the end of it. Nah. Maki got to show up because she been nutted in, and now she got superpowers. What?
She learned Flash Step.
She was out there glowing like she was the White Ranger. I'm like, man, fuck no. Came out there. She had Flash Step like Devin said, and all of a sudden
she had the semen upgrade.
Oh, they were talking about how she was already pregnant. It's like, what the?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. She's already.
Time has accelerated.
Man, got strong nut, bro. That's all I can tell you.
Okay, bro.
For the first scene, that demon, that's why the demon said, I got what I needed right now. That's that super nut. Yeah, that's what I needed.
only way I can say that makes sense. Like, there's other stuff I've seen where like people like get impregnated by like a demon lord or something, and they're pregnant in like the next month, and it's just like the logic is like, well, it's a demon, so it's accelerated. So that's the only thing I can think that will make sense that she was a demon. It's just like,
I know what you're talking about, Devin. Yeah.
it still was kind of stupid. But
All
it
I
was
know is
like,
she went Super Saiyan nut and then laid the dude out. And I'm like, okay, this film fucking sucked. And the only good thing that, like, the only thing that I would want to see is like what their child would look like. Because I mean, like, hell, my art seemed like he had all the goddamn powers, like summoning lightning, whatever the fuck he felt like it. He lived to 200. I mean, and apparently he could fuck a demon and have enough energy so that it was like, oh, it'll only take 30 minutes to heal you. I'm like, what? But yeah, other than that, like, and the animation being good, you can pretty much keep this film. I'm gonna say 4. Actually, I'm gonna say a 4. This film fucking is a mess. One last question, just to have a little bit of fun. Of the 3 that we've seen, what's your favorite Kawajiri film? Ninja Scroll, Bloodlust, or Wicked City? Devin?
Well, as I was watching this movie, I was hoping I would have been able to say Wicked City because, again, like I said, the aesthetic and stuff. But it's a hot mess, man. Like I said, they chose right for the protagonist name Takis because this movie was just spicy the whole entire way through. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm gonna definitely say out of the ones for me, Vampire Hunter D, Bloodlust. Again, another film. I mean, most of these, and that's another thing that just like ring true with all these. Like the animation is just really solid. Like the style is just true to what it is, and it's really good.
Madhouse.
Yeah, that's that's why that's why that's one of my favorite studios. And yeah, just Vampire Hunter D, cool protagonist. I mean, he's like the kind of typical edgelord. I don't say much. I just punch you in the mouth and give me my money. But it's a lot, definitely a lot better constructed than Wicked City. It's still some holes in it, like the whole it's always got to be like a love interest for some reason that just don't make sense. That just seems to be something of the 80s, these 80 anime movies, like woman, man come together. Like this, but like we mentioned before, like the creatures, what's the bounty hunter groups, a lot of different groups. They didn't get fleshed out super good, but I just think as a whole package, I think that's what I prefer. Like I said, you got Vampire Hunter D looks like Sephiroth, and he's basically just Alucard. He always gets to this thing where people like they disrespect him. You ain't nobody, man. You just a Dampier. And he's like, actually, I'm him. I'm Himothy Hemerson. And he's like, which is always kind of a joy to watch him. Always kind of acting like, I'm about to lose, and it's like, nah, I'm just playing. So yeah, I think out of these 3, that Vampire Hunter D is definitely that's the one I would have to pick, man.
All right. Will, what about you, man? Which one of the 3?
Out of the 3, it's gonna have to be Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. I just really enjoy that movie overall. Plus, I just like D as the protagonist. I do. I get it that he's kind of like basically, I'm here, I'm him, I strike, I'm going. That's really how he kind of works. And I like that a lot about him. Wicked City had enough problems, and I forgot to mention the character designs earlier. I do like a lot of the monster designs. I really like those a lot because I started noticing like things, and I'm just like, these right here definitely are in video games somewhere because Spider Lady made me think of Shin Megami Tensei 1, and that last demon made me think of something from Contra, really. When I seen him, I'm like, I feel like I would be shooting you right now with a spread gun. But but Vampire Hunter D is my standout above those 3. Ninja Scroll 2. Wicked City just falls like kind of flat on its face. Cool concept, just like Terrence said. Cool concept, but it's just wasted beyond like its subject matter, some of the scenes it does, and everything else. It's wasted on a lot of things that literally like don't help hold it up at all. So Vampire Hunter D is number 1.
Okay. Terrence, where do you stand, man? What's your favorite?
So I'm pretty much going to fall in line with Devin and Will in this regard. And just to give a little bit more context, more detail, sorry. I mean, Vampire Hunter D's Bloodlust is just, I think the story there is just better written than Ninja Scroll and Wicked City's story. I mean, obviously much better than Wicked City. I don't have to say anything about Wicked City. We've already talked for almost an hour about it. So, I mean, you can rewind the podcast if you want to know how we feel about that. But Bloodlust, I think in terms of the art, it's the best out of the 3, in my opinion anyway. The story is the best, even though it still has its flaws, like the latter third, like we have a review about it where we talked about, like, yeah, the latter third of the movie, it just doesn't come together as well, but still, it's a better movie than Wicked City, much better than Wicked City. And Ninja Scroll, I think the problem with Ninja Scroll is that it's funny because it's like every movie is almost like you see the progress in some way. It's like Ninja Scroll, in terms of its story and the way that it treats its characters, is a far step up from Wicked City, and Vampire D Bloodlust is a step up from even Ninja Scroll. So I just think that Vampire Hunter D is the best out of the three. Ninja Scroll is right behind, and then Wicked City is just dead last. And of course, we're only talking about the 3 movies that we reviewed so far. I know that he's done others like OVAs and whatnot, but we're just talking about the 3 that we've discussed on the podcast. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that clarification, just in case somebody was like, hey, look, what are you talking about?
Yeah, we don't need any nerds coming here. Well, actually, like we know.
They're going to come anyway.
We know. It'll be here soon.
That's true. Rakeem, what do you stand?
I think this isn't going to be a difficult or much of a change. I feel like Vampire D Bloodlust, by virtue of it being a later film and like kind of those tropes and things had already been kind of set, it was able to kind of go past those things and kind of expand on the development of the story. I mean, first of all, it's one of those 3 movies that nobody got ran up in, so that's already a plus.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But also, it treated his characters better. I like the action in that as well, and of course, the animation had improved over time by then as well. So the animation really got that benefit from that. It kind of like got the benefits of the path those other films treaded first, and then it kind of got the benefits of it afterwards. I felt like it was the better executed one. Ninja Scroll behind that, I always like Ninja Scroll. I've seen it so many times already. We've talked about it before and its flaws and our flaws to that movie, but I still genuinely like Ninja Scroll. I'll probably watch it again at some point. It's just one of the movies I watch every 10 years or something like that. But this movie, Wicked City, I had seen this movie before, and now I know why I repressed that memory, because it was not worth remembering. Even young horny Keem wouldn't have liked this. This was not it. And I mean, and there's dudes like, man, I care. Who cares about a little TNA? Like, no, this ain't TNA. This is Impact. This is not it. This is just. This is just dry. It's just the worst form of like forcing sex into a movie just because to do it, or like sex sells, or like innuendo, and like not using sex prop. I feel like if you had like one of the themes of sex this strong, you could write it better than this, and it still come off better.
Absolutely.
And like and be executed. I'm pretty sure there's films that have done it, done that better too. But this isn't it. Man, I've seen porn movies with better comedy stories than this. So yeah,
I have seen porn that has better plots than this.
So Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust by far, Ninja Scroll a classic. I'll always rake it at least decent, and then that Wicked City can go somewhere. I'd rather just watch City Hunter.
Hey.
I'm kind of back and forth, but I do think Bloodlust is probably the strongest film of them all, just because it's set in an actual universe that's had, a long time to develop.
That's a good point.
So many different like it's pulling from so many different elements of this universe that at that point had been going on for, I think, over a decade. So that's probably the best one. Ninja Scroll comes in at a close second. It's good, but like, again, it's the one film where nobody's assaulted. So I guess I'm giving it. Well, Bloodlust is the one film where nobody's assaulted, so I guess that's the one that takes it. And then Ninja Scroll, like, if it could have avoided that weird shit, I would have probably put it up there, but it couldn't. So, Wicked City is 4th. Third is like I don't know, like a 90 minutes of empty static on the screen. That would be third. I'd rather that than this full fucking bullshit.
Missed this one, y'all. Missed this
great
one.
animation and all. Like, I don't care. Like, this is just a mess. But I do think that's gonna wrap this week's episode up. If you liked it, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor. Hit that subscription button on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter and follow us on TikTok. Tell all your nerdy ass friends and family about us, and do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.